or media. Translated, it means Amrit Kaal, the 5 Prans and media. We have with us very eminent speakers. We have Dr. J.K. Bajaj, who is the chairman of the ICSSR New Delhi. We have Shri Praful Ketkar, the editor of Organizer, Professor Bhagwati Prasad Sharma, Group President, Planning and Control, Pacific University, Professor Mazhar Asif, Center for Persian and Central Asian Studies at the JNU, and Ms. Monica Arora, an advocate of the Supreme Court of India. The subject that we are focusing today has relevance because the next 25 years will see you people leading the nation. And for you to lead the nation, you have to walk the path in a very dedicated manner. The Prime Minister of India on the 75th Independence Day gave 5 Pran or 5 goals and 5 pledges. The first one was Developed India, Vikasit Bharat. Remove any traces of colonial mindset was the second pledge. किसी भी कोने में गुलामी का अंश न रह जाए. The third one was taking pledge in and celebrating our heritage. अपनी विरासत पर गर्व होना. The fourth pledge that the PM said was strengthening unity. देश में एकता रहे, एकजुटता रहे. The fifth pledge was a focus on duty. नागरिकों का अपने कर्तव्य के प्रति चिंतन और कार्यान्वयन. And he emphasized that the PM and the CMs, the civil servants, no one is above this duty. The PM laid special emphasis on respect for women. नारी सम्मान पर बल देते हुए उन्होंने कहा कि प्रत्येक महिला का सम्मान किया जाए. उन्होंने इस बात की अपील की and he said that this needs to reflect in the everyday behavior. प्रधानमंत्री ने कहा कि महिलाओं के प्रति हमारी बोलचाल में कुछ दोष आया है. हम अनजाने में ही नारी का अपमान करते हैं. He sought a conscious rectification of this. First of all, I would like to invite Dr. J.K. Bajaj. Dr. J.K. Bajaj is an eminent educationist and researcher. He is the chairperson of the Indian Council of Social Science Research. He has been honored with the Padma Shri. He is also director of the Center of Policy Studies, New Delhi, and a member of the Commission to examine subcategorization of OBCs. He is an author of 11 books, including The Making of a Hindu Patriot, Background of Mahatma Gandhi's Hind Swaraj. Hind Swaraj, authentic editions of the text based on the original handwritten Gujarati of Mahatma Gandhi. Timeless India, Resurgent India, a celebration of the land and people of India, restoring abundance, regeneration of Indian agriculture to ensure food for all in plenty, food for all Annam Bahu Kurvita, recollecting the Indian discipline of growing and sharing food in plenty, the Indian economy and polity. Dr. Bajaj would be speaking on the first goal for a developed India. Over to you, Dr. Bajaj.
Thank you, Sangeeta Pranavendra ji. I am fortunate that I was present in the meeting of the National Committee on ACAM, in which the Prime Minister of India announced these 5 Sankalpas, Panch Pranas, for the Amrit Kaal, for the nation, for the Indian nation. And as Sangeeta ji has just told you, the first of these pranas that we, along with the Prime Minister of India, have vowed for ourselves, taken upon ourselves, is that in these 25 years of Amrit Kala, the 25 years which will take us to the 100th year of Indian independence, we shall ensure that India, when it enters its 100th year of independence, will be counted amongst the developed nations of the world. This is a sankalpa which is not too early to have been taken, because 75 years is a long time for a nation to rebuild itself, reconnect itself with its civilization, even if we grant that the previous 200, 250 years of the British rule, and perhaps even the earlier years, were very difficult years for the Indian nation. Even Mahatma Gandhi said that it will take us 75 years to come back into ourselves. So it is extremely fulfilling and extremely important that the Prime Minister of India has made us take this resolution, made us take this sankalpa, that we'll lose no more time, and in this Amrit Kala, we'll rebuild India into a developed, full-fledged, equal nation with all other nations of the world. When we say that India will be a developed nation, in fact, for any sankalpa to fructify, for any resolution to reach its culmination, we should know what the dream is, what that resolution means. And we should know what, when we say India will be developed India, what it means to us, that what developed India shall look like. Fortunately, for India, this is not a difficult question. For all of Indian history, all of Indian civilization history, India has had only one goal for its nation. And that goal is to achieve Rama Rajya. That exemplar has been established before us by Sri Rama himself. And our striving always is, when we want to build India, we want to build it into a Rama Rajya. That is the goal that we have to achieve in the last 25 years. And what does Rama Rajya mean? Again, that is something which Maharishi Valmiki wrote down for us in the first chapter of Valmiki Ramayana, the first sarga of the Balakanda. And that those shlokas which define Rama Rajya, it is said that Indian kings, especially the kings of the Vijayanagara Empire, they used to get these shlokas recited to them every morning, so that they know what is the objective before them. Where do you want to reach? And I think the first sarga of Balakanda should be repeatedly read by all of us who are interested in converting India into a developed nation. But let me tell you some of the most significant parts of the dream of Ram Rajya. One of the shlokas where in this Valmiki says, Prahrishta mudito lokas tatushta pushta sudharmika niramyo hi rogascha durbhiksha bhaya varjita. Which means that when Raja Ram rules, when Rama Rajya prevails, then the whole world, all the people will be, the word uses prahrishto mudito. There'll be happiness, there'll be cheerful. These English words don't really capture the meanings that you get from prahrishta, mudita. But that's what, everybody will be happy and cheerful. Santushta, all will be contented, all desires will be fulfilled. Pushta, all will be well nourished. Sudharmika, all will be following dharma, they'll be steady in the following of dharma. Niramaya, all will be free of disease, all will be in good health. Durbhiksha bhaya varjita, nobody will have the fear of hunger. That is the minimum demand, that is the demand that the Ram Raja, it's not a demand, it's a promise that Ram Raja makes to the Indian people. That they will be all happy and cheerful, they'll all be contented, they'll be all well nourished, all will follow dharma, all will be in good health, all will be without disease, and all will be free from hunger and fear. This is a very simple thing to achieve, but this is the minimal thing to achieve when one wants to call a nation developed nation. And there are other things which are defined by Valmiki as the attributes of Ramaraja. And the last shloka says, Nagarani cha rashtrani dhanadhanya yutani cha nityam pramuditaha sarve yathakrit yuge tatha. The whole nation, every city, every town, every habitation will be dhanya yuta. It will be rich and be rich in full of grain. It will be overflowing with grain. Nityam pramodita, all will be always happy. They'll be happy that they used to be in the Satya Yuga, in the Krita Yuga. Of all these things that these attributes of Ramarajya that I have just defined, the first is to be people, for people to be Prahirishta Mudita. The first is that they should be free of the fear of hunger, and the Rashtra and the nation should be Dhanadhanya Yuta, which at the beginning, as we have said in our book, try to establish in our book on Annam Bahukurvita, the beginning of this is by ensuring there's plentiful production of food in the country and plentiful availability of food in the country. This is a requirement which historically all nations which call themselves developed nation have fulfilled at the beginning of their phase of development. This we have been saying for several years, and it was an unfortunate fact of India that when the British left and throughout the British period, the country was not Durbiksha Bhaya Varjita. Actually, it was repeatedly subjected to the Bhaya of Durbiksha. It had repeated akala, repeated famines it had. And that main reason for that was that the production of food in India had severely declined compared to what it was before the British came, at least in the South India. It has been our wish that when India becomes developed, the first thing it should achieve is to have the kind of food production which we used to have before the British came. And that used to be around 800 kilograms per capita per year. Today we produce, throughout the 75 years, most of the 75 years, we have been producing less than 200 kilograms per capita per year, which the British defined as the famine diet. So India remained on the famine diet for nearly 75 years. I'm happy to report that it is in the last 3-4 years, for the first time in the history, in the post-British history of India, that India has started producing more than this famine limit. We have been reaching near 250, 260 kilograms per capita per year. And our judgment, we have been saying it repeatedly, when we reach around 300, then we can say that we have started moving in the direction of becoming a developed nation. And when we reach above 400, perhaps we can start calling ourselves developed, because that will be the time when there'll be no person who needs to be hungry in India. There'll be no person, no animal who needs to be hungry. And that is the minimum requirement for a nation to be called developed, that there is no one malnourished, no one hungry, in neither men nor animals, is none of them is ever hungry or malnourished. This is the Indian classical requirement on a nation. This is also the requirement on all developed nations of today. And I'm happy to note that we are moving in that direction. There are data is showing that already we have started moving in that direction. The other is all being niramaya, all being free of disease. So delivery of health, delivery of food is the essential part of being niramaya. Hunger is the essential reason. Malnourishment is the essential reason for disease. But there are other diseases. And so delivery of health becomes extremely important for a nation to be called. A universal delivery of health is an important attribute of a nation for it to be called developed. And as you would have, many of you have noticed, we have had many, many new initiatives in the direction of ensuring that the ordinary people of India begin to have good access to the best health facilities in the world. And I'm sure this is an objective of Ramarajya, which we will achieve very fast if we are able to keep it in front of us. So these are the minimal objectives of a developed nation. That the third is, of course, that people are prarisht mudita, they're happy and contented, and which means that they will say in the running of the affairs, which classical India in Ramarajya it was done very, very effectively, very repeatedly. Raja Ram says, according to Bhavabhuti, that he is so concerned that the people be happy, that for their happiness, he is willing to give up everything, even his himself. So that is I think that is another thing the Indian nation, Indian state has started looking into, that the people become participants in the running of the state. And one of the objectives of the state, one of the major objectives of the state, is to keep people engaged in the affairs of the state and ensure that they are happy in every way. How much more time can I have? Another 5 to 7 minutes?
Sir, we ran around 4 minutes late, so we could adjust another 4-5 minutes.
Okay. So these are the basic requirements from Ramarajya. But this alone is not Ramarajya. If this is there, other things will be there. But what are those other things? That also Valmiki defines in the first few chapters of the Valmiki Ramayana. Maharshi Valmiki gives us a picture of what Ayodhya looks like. And if we go through some of those attributes, we will start recognizing what kind of a developed nation it would have been, or what kind of a developed nation we are talking about when we say that India will be developed. in this, I think this is the fifth sarga, where he's defining the, the streets of Ayodhya, the buildings of Ayodhya, the width of those streets, the cleanliness of this is height of those buildings. We should all read that. That is the when we want a Rama Rajya kind of nation, it is not a nation. It has to be a nation which is like the best in the world, which is a nation which others are want to emulate and want to copy. In one of the shloka, it says, "Prasadai ratna vikritaihi paravitairaiva shobitam." The houses in the streets of Ayodhya were studded with gems, and they were so high that they looked like hills. That was the kind of abundance you had, kind of greatness you had in this city of Ayodhya. Then in another sarga, while defining the greatness of Ayodhya, Valmiki Ramayana, I think the sixth sarga, where he's saying that the best horses of the world, those in Cambodia, in Bali, wherever you found the best horses, anywhere in the world, they were there in Ayodhya. And wherever you found the best or most powerful elephants in the world, elephants of Vindhya Parvat, of Himalayas, but also elephants of the Airavat Kula or of the Kula of Mahapadma, they were found in Ayodhya. And not only those elephants which could be produced by hybriding, creating hybrids of the best breeds of the world, those were also found in Ayodhya. So everything scientifically the best, the technologically the best, was found in Ayodhya. It was not it was revered in the world because it was the greatest city in the world. It had the greatest technology. And then Valmiki says that didn't have not only this great buildings, not this great technology, it also had the greatest scholars in the world. That this Vasishtha and Vamdev, and then Sujagya, Jabali, Kashyap, Gautam. I'll be just closing. Dirgayu. They were such that they knew everything about the world, and everybody else in the world looked up to them for the best of knowledge. That kind of India, where our scholarship is what the rest of the world looks up to, that kind of India, where our technology is what the rest of the world looks up to, our buildings, our cities are the kind that to which the rest of the world looks up to. That will be developed India. That will be the India that Valmiki dreamed of. That's the India Ramarajya has always dreamed of. I think we are moving towards that India. Already, the name of India in the world, the position of India in the world, seems much. When I look at this, the foreign articles about geopolitics situation, even 5 years ago, India was hardly ever mentioned. Today, as Valmiki is saying about Ayodhya, Indian leadership, Vasishtha, Vamadeva, Jabalis of India, they are respected in the world. And as we move through the Amrit Kala, they will be respected more and more. Let's keep dreaming about it. I should close here. I would have tried to introduce you to many more aspects of Ramarajya and the developed Ayodhya and the developed India, and which will compete with what Valmiki is defining as the Koshala Desha. That will be the Indian nation. That will be the Vikasit Bharat Rashtra. Namaskar.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Bajaj, for the most thought-provoking address. When we think in terms of development, the words that first come to our minds as a developed nation are GDP, per capita income. But then your address has actually made us realize that food, health, public participation, good quality livestock are the basis of a developed nation, as that is where the health comes from. And health would indirectly be related to the quality of population. Thank you so much, Dr. Bajaj. I now invite Shri Praful Ketkarji. He would be talking about the second pran to remove any trace of colonial mindset. Praful Ketkarji is the editor of Organizer since 2013. He has been writing on issues related to international politics and foreign policy, with special reference to China and Southeast Asia, trade and economy, and non-military security issues. He has worked as a news reader and translator with News Services Division of All India Radio. He was also an assistant professor and head in a college affiliated to the University of Pune. He has had a master's degree in political science from University of Pune and an MPhil from JNU, New Delhi. He has also worked at the Institute of Peace and Conflict Studies in New Delhi. Over to you, Shri Ketkar.
Thank you, Sangeeta ji. First of all, I would like to thank Professor Sanjay Dwivedi and the entire team of IMC for inviting me for this very important, and this is an innovative way to have a induction program for media students. Actually, Professor Dr. J.K. Bajaj has made my job easier. He has already hello.
All the students are requested to kindly mute. All are requested to kindly mute their mics and please listen and not disturb the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Dr. Bajaj has already made my job easier by elaborating on developed Bharat from Indian point of view. I'm so glad, students, you must have, first time heard about a concept of developed India where neither World Bank is mentioned, nor America or China is mentioned, no mention to IMF. So when Prime Minister talked about Panch Pran, I thought the most important aspect of our journey towards realizing our own potential is to decolonize our minds. See, we got independence in 1947. But when we look at ourselves, now today, for example, we are communicating with each other in English. It always create a puzzle for me when Shankaracharya would have traveled from Kerala to Kashmir, in which language he must have communicated. On these documents on Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, I tried to find out why there was not a single conflict on the basis of languages in pre-British India. We never fought on the basis of languages. It's only in the post-1930s and 40s, and mainly in last 75 years, we suddenly discovered that, oh, I'm a Bengali, I'm a Marathi, I'm a Tamil, I'm a Telugu. And we started identifying language as a source of identity. Now, this is a typical prism, typical colonial.
I am repeating and requesting you, one and all, kindly please mute your mic. Shailendra, please mute your mic. Kindly maintain some decorum, please. The pandemic has ensured that we all know how to behave on online forums. Please exhibit those qualities. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It actually, breaks the link of your thought process. So please ensure while joining or whatever, please ensure that you remain on mute mode. So the point I am making is when Prime Minister said gulami ka koi अंश नहीं रहना चाहिए, so gulami was not just political. Please try and understand there has been a lot of literature that has come up, especially in Africa and recently in India also, about the colonization process itself. Colonization, along with the political subjugation, also leads to social, psychological, economic, and cultural tormenting. Your social structures get ruptured. Your basic economic structure gets ruptured. Your cultural symbols are distorted. And that's why, as a nation, psychologically, intellectually, the invaders actually desecrate and destroy your own way of thinking. And that is what has happened with us. Like, for example, British told us that, oh, before we arrived here, you were never a nation. And we believed so. And I'm sure many of you must, even still now, you must be believing so. Our books tell us so. Right from Aryan invasion to British invasion, this has been a land of invaders. Now, even after, from on all fronts, Aryan invasion theory is destroyed completely, still, that is the prevalent misconception that we carry. So we, in the post-independent period, are actually fighting in three paradigms intellectually. One, that we were never a nation, and so it was the British who helped us in creating the nation. And that's why we are nation in the making. In reality, what British did was, British actually created a centralized state and not nation. Because irrespective of who was ruling us, for us, Himalaya was Himalaya, Indian Ocean was Indian Ocean, Ganga was Ganga, Ayodhya was Ayodhya, the idea of Ramarajya was same, irrespective of the languages we speak, irrespective of the rulers who govern the smaller entities, and therefore, our idea of nationhood itself got distorted from the European prism. Now, getting rid of that European prism is the first biggest challenge. The second biggest challenge is the way we understand our idea of unity. Often while talking, we say we have diverse cultures. My friends, do we really have diverse cultures? Or we have a unique culture that celebrates diversity? Because our external expressions may be different. The way we celebrate our New Year's may be different. The name of Sankranti or Diwali may be different. But the philosophical foundation behind those cultural festivities is the same all over India. That is the basis of our unity. So what we see superficially is the expression of that same unity that we carry. Unfortunately, because our intellectual space is completely colonized, we many a time see ourselves from the British prism. The second idea that was told to us was Not just we were never a nation, we can never be a nation. We are conglomeration of many nationalities. From 1920s, especially the ideology of communism, which generally doesn't believe in the idea of nation or Rashtra, propagated this thing. But the fact remains that Indian nationhood was never based on either religion or language. Religious and linguistic identity based nation state is the European construct. And that's why when we are saying we should get rid of all elements of colonialism, we need to relook at our history, because without knowing who we are, we cannot march ahead in the journey towards a developed nation. British clinically also did one important thing. They used two important instruments to subjugate our minds, to create divisiveness, to create deceptions. One was education, the other was legal system. Most of the laws that we actually trying to get rid of or amending or amended in the post-independent period were actually colonial constructs. Fundamental thinking behind the state functioning, unfortunately, after the independence remained the same. The influence of English in bureaucratic and judicial proceedings remained the same. The idea of law, the fundamental idea of law in Indian context is basically to make the people understand, to make the governed understand what does that law mean. आप किसी भी व्यक्ति को जाकर जो 5-5, 10-10 साल से केस लड़ रहा है, उसको जाकर पूछिए कि कोर्ट में क्या चल रहा है, तो वो केवल लॉयर को पता होता है और जजेस को पता होता है. Now the law that is meant for the common people is not known to the same people, and therefore what has happened, we have started neglecting our glorious history, our bravery, our continuous struggle. Our idea of freedom struggle itself is skewed. We thought that, our freedom struggle started in 1857. Sorry. The day Vasco da Gama came, our freedom struggle against the European colonization started. But many of us, don't know the name of Zamorin. We call him Zamorin. His title was Samudri, but his actual name was Manavikrama. It was a very prestigious dynasty. He was a protector of the sea, but he defeated Vasco da Gama. And that's why we don't know him. We don't know much about Rani Abakka. We don't know much about Velu Nachiyar. We don't know much about Vijayanagar Empire, which Professor Bajaj also referred to. Simply because our history, the sense of history is completely whitewashed. And therefore, our scientific achievements, our economic and commercial prosperity, our civilizational heritage, that is also undermined. If you carefully read Vasco da Gama's diary, the first voyage, you will understand why did he come to India. And what did he see when he entered the Calicut court and the Calicut market? What kind of prosperity India had? Acharya Dharmapal, a famous Gandhian. Dr. Bajaj also took a lot of inspiration from him. He was one of the few people who actually dig into the British documents and try to find out what were the structures, education, economic, social, religious, that were existing before the British arrived. And I'm not saying we need to go back to those days. There were certain weaknesses, that's why British could rule us. But those were the fundamental philosophical basis of our society, on the basis of which we could achieve that prosperity. Remember, friends, we were not the only country that was colonized in this world. Europeans, wherever they went, right from America to Latin America, to Africa, to Australia, wherever they went, the local indigenous population was completely vanished. We don't know where those Red Indians are. How did that, entire indigenous legacy, traditions, civilizations, what happened to them? What happened to Incas? But we are the only exception. Despite the onslaught, not just from the Europeans, but from Mughals, Turkish, Arabic, all kinds of earlier Greek aggressions, we survived, and we survived because we had something. The British rule was fundamentally different from earlier aggressions because British not just politically subjugated us, not just economically looted us, but they imposed a colonial mindset. The colonial mindset was such that till 1990s, in our parliament, the budget used to be presented at 5:30 in the evening. Why? Because at that time, during the British rule, when there used to be 5:30 p.m. on 28th February in India, it used to be 12 noon in Britain. So as per the British timing, the budget used to be presented at 12 noon, so we continued with that. The entire debate about languages also took place during the Constituent Assembly. About the Gram Swaraj and the structure of governance, that has also taken place. We must revisit that because our Constituent Assembly and our constitution makers were very clear about what did they want actually out of this constitution. Unfortunately, the British colonial prisons intellectually have reinforced the colonial ideas which were contrary to the Chitti or the basic fundamental nature of Bharat. When we are talking about getting rid of all elements of colonization, we must remember the legacy. As I have referred to the beautiful tree by Acharya Dharmapal, Swadeshi Samaj by Rabindranath Tagore, Hind Swaraj by Mahatma Gandhi, then Gita Rahasya by Lokmanya Tilak, Integral Humanism by Deen Dayal Upadhyay, Radical Humanism by Manvendranath Roy, Chaukhamba Raj by Ram Manohar Lohia. All these are great thinkers who tried to create new ideas based on our ancient wisdom. The true idea of independence was not just political, but in terms of religious practices, culture, symbols, heritage. India is the only land where we celebrate spiritual democracy. Unfortunately, in the post-independence period, since our partition, it has become a weakness. Here is the only land where everybody is allowed to choose his or her own God. That was our civilizational strength. Now those identities, the communal identities, have become our weakness. Why did it happen? Because religion and language were made as the source of identity and not as the source of either communication or connect with the Almighty. This is the perspective. A new prism is required, and this cannot be done only by the government. Students, academia, youth, think tank, community leaders, everybody will have to think how we can chart a new journey towards developed India, which is based on the dictum given by Pandit Dindayal Upadhyay, from the past, through the present, to the future. We can't disconnect ourselves from the past. We cannot neglect the present day problems of today. But the future journey has to be rooted in these two. Any rupture, any colonial prism is not going to help us. And therefore, I call upon you, while pursuing your media course, always keep this in mind. What is our indigenous prism to understand and analyze a particular issue? Decolonize your mind. औपनिवेशिक मानसिकता से मुक्ति पाना है हमारे विकसित होने का सबसे पहला कर्तव्य है कि हमको हमारे खुद के विकास के पैरामीटर्स डिफाइन करने होंगे, शिक्षा के पैरामीटर्स पर हमें आगे बढ़ना होगा, हमारे देश में आज की समस्याओं को भारत के चश्मे से देखना होगा और भारत के चश्मे से ही उसके उत्तर ढूंढने होंगे। मैं मानता हूं आज आईएमसी के द्वारा ये एक बहुत सार्थक प्रयास किया गया है एंड ऑल ऑफ यू विल बी ग्रेटली बेनिफिटेड थ्रू दिस dialogue. I wish you all the best and again thank Dr. Sanjay Dwivedi and the entire team of IMC for inviting me and allowing me to share my ideas about decolonizing our minds for developed Bharat. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prafulji. This is indeed a new perspective on the arduous task ahead, removing traces of the colonial mindset. Here, I would like to add that IIMC is like a representative of the country. We have 5 regional centers in the 5 directions of India, and we have students in Delhi who come from practically every state of the country. I would like to take this opportunity to call upon our students to revisit the historical aspects, the lesser known historical aspects of their respective states, to bring across unsung heroes. It would definitely help you to understand your history and your perspective and definitely inculcate a sense of pride in that history. I now call upon Professor Bhagwati Prakash Sharma. He is an international expert on global trade, including WTO, free trade agreements, economic globalization, patents, investment measures, business environment, etc. He has been a keen observer and a regular commentator on all these issues. Ever since the launch of Uruguay round of talks for the formation of WTO, he has been participating and keenly studying the MTAs in the biannual ministerial conference of WTO since 2003. He has been Vice Chancellor of Gautam Budh University, Greater Noida, and Pacific University, Udaipur. Presently, he is the Group President, Planning and Control, Pacific University. Professor Bhagwati Prasad Sharma would be speaking on the third Pran, Celebrate Our Heritage. Yes, Professor Bhagwati Prasad to kindly deliver his address.
Thank you, Professor Sangeeta ji, esteemed galaxy of academic and professional luminaries and dear students. Indeed, the Panch Pranas, or 5 resolves, are a comprehensive reflection of what India is, what it aspires to be. And I think we should ingrain all these 5 Panch Pranas into very deep into our senses. When we talk of the heritage, I think we have an heritage which gives the reflection of the most advanced nation which one can ever imagine. Even today, we do not find any country near the kind of ancient wisdom we had and civilizational antiquities which we had. Coming directly to the subject, I would like to just come to the knowledge heritage or ancient Indian wisdom. When we talk of ancient Indian wisdom, we find that today, even we cannot imagine that any country or any society can be somewhere near it. We had complete understanding or vision of everything in this cosmos. When I talk of cosmos, yani ki Brahmand, the cosmos comprises more than 2 trillion galaxies. 20 खरब से ज्यादा आकाश गंगाएं इस ब्रह्मांड में है. And scientists say that there can be more number. And this cosmos is expanding. And the cosmos is expanding, that is the intergalactic space is increasing. It is due to the dark energy which is invisible and found embedded in the intergalactic space. And modern cosmologists say that this dark energy is 3/4 in quantum. And in the 1/4 of the cosmic energy, the whole of the universe is made up. That is the visible world, constituting more than 2 trillion galaxies. Each galaxy has 400 to 500 billion stars. हमारी जो मिल्की वे आकाश गंगा है इसमें भी 400 से 500 अरब तारे हैं और ऐसी 20 खरब से ज्यादा आकाश गंगाएं हैं. And whole of this visible world is made up of 1/4 of the total cosmic energy, and 3/4 of the cosmic energy is invisible in the form of dark energy and is spread across the cosmos. Now, when we come to the Yajurved and Rigved, it very delicately delineates this ratio of visible world and dark energy as 3:1. When we come to Etavanas Mahimato Jayansh Purukha, it's a long stanza, Tripadut Udet Purukha, like it says that 1/4 of this that Brahma is visible in the form of visible world. उस विराट ब्रह्म के एक पाद में यह दृश्य जगत बना हुआ है. And 3/4 is spread in the space and which is invisible. उस विराट ब्रह्म का 3 पाद अर्थात 3/4 इस अनंत अंतरिक्ष में अदृश्य होकर विलीन है. It means the innovation or the discovery, rather it is discovery, the discovery which has been made by the cosmologists after 1998 and particularly after 2000, and when they said that the cosmic energy in the form of dark energy is 3/4 and 1/4 is the visible world, which is also made of the cosmic energy in the form of condensation and all these things. So we see that whatever scientific phenomena are being discovered till date are so well delineated in our ancient scriptures. Another most important thing which I would like to mention, that every term in Sanskrit literature is not a straight combination of letters, but the letters which are there in every term are very delicately and intelligently combined. And as a student of mass media, you should bear this thing in mind. With the paucity of time, I would be giving only 2 examples. For example, recently we have concluded this COP27, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. In the 2012, in a similar conference, it was inferred that the rains which precipitate on the earth, 60% are due to forest. That is, forests contribute 40% of the rain precipitating humidity. वर्षा करने के लिए जो आर्द्रता चाहिए उसमें से 40% का योगदान वन करते हैं. And 60% of rain precipitating humidity is contributed by the oceans. That is, forests constitute the second most important variable in generating rain precipitating humidity, and they generate almost 40% of the rain precipitating humidity. Now, when I went through the epidemiology of वन ऑफन वी रेफर वन यानी बेतरतीब एकदम जंगल जो अव्यवस्थित है, बट इट इज नॉट सो. यास्क अबाउट 4000 years back has coined the one term as vanyate yachate vrishti pradayate iti vanaha, which demands rains from the nature is one. It means the connotation, the scientific phenomenon which has been discovered after 2012, that forests contribute 40% of the rain precipitating humidity, and they are a second most important variable in causing rains on the earth. Same way, Yask about 4000 years back has termed this coin one, vanyate yachate vrishti pradayate iti vanaha. It means every word, whether say for example when we talk of mantra, तो मननात् त्रायते इति मंत्रः, मनन करने वाले की रक्षा करे वह मंत्र है. Likewise, when we talk of Shankar, Sham Tanotu iti Shankara, which relieves a person or alleviates from crisis, sankaton se raksha kare wah Shankar. Likewise, when we talk of heart, for the first time, William Harvey in the year 1628 has said that the role of the heart is to circulate blood in the body. This was the first discovery about the heart. And all other discoveries were made in the 20th century only. Now, our ancient seers, when they coined the term heart, Hriday, so they say that there are 4 letters in the term Hriday, Ha, Ra, Da, Ya. So, Shatpat Brahman, which is almost about 5,000 years old scripture, and Yask has also delineated this evolution of the term Hriday. It says, Harte dadate rayate yamam hriday shabdah. Harte means it takes blood from the body. Dadate means it gives blood to the body. Rayate means it circulates blood in the body. And yamam, it means it regulates the heartbeat. Even in the beginning of the 20th century, scientists were not aware that the heartbeat is generated solely from the natural pacemaker of the heart. There's no role of brain in generating the heartbeat. The same thing was said by Bhel. Bhel and Charak Samhita, they are contemporary. Bhel Samhita का लोगों ने नाम नहीं सुना है. Bhel Samhita says, मनुष्य के हृदय की धड़कनों का नियमन स्वयं हृदय करता है. And here also, in coining the term Ha, Ra, Daya, Harte, Dadate, Rayate, Yamam Hriday Shabda, Yamam means heartbeat is generated by the heart itself. So, these days, when we see that if somebody's heartbeat recedes due to some disorder in the natural pacemaker of the heart, then an artificial pacemaker is installed subcutaneously over the ribs, and an electrode is entered into the pericardium near the ventricle. Ventricle means anterior portion of the heart. Now, electrical impulses are supplied from this silver ion battery or pacemaker to the ventricle of the heart. Means Hriday ke agra bhag mein. In the anterior portion of the heart, electrical impulses have a specific role. And this has been found out only in the mid-20th century. And our Yajurved says, Agni Gung Hriday Nashani Gung Hridaya Gren Pashupatim Krasnadaya. It's a long stanza again. Means मैं हृदय के अग्रभाग में विद्युत को धारण करूं. I bear electricity in the anterior portion of my heart. This is very clearly mentioned in the Yajurved, which we could discover only in the mid-19th century, mid-20th century, that minute electrical impulses have a decisive role in generating the heartbeat, and this electricity plays its role in the anterior portion of the heart. So, even these days, when we come to the terminology, so I find that even when our ancient scriptures have said, Chitta ka sthan hriday hai, that heart also has thinking process, and heart also has memory. This has been described in most of the Ayurvedic scriptures as well as in the Vedic scriptures. Manha Shiv Sankalpa Mastu, Mera Man Shiv Sankalp Wala, Sat Sankalp Wala Bane, means man means heart has a role in the thought process. Nowadays, modern science also talks of cortical memory means memory of the brain, and cardiac memory means memory of the heart. Hriday gat smriti or mastishk gat smriti. Quickly coming to the actual some of the findings these days. These days we see that a lot of heart transplantations are taking place. When the heart of a dying person who was a beer addict was transplanted into a lady who never tasted any liquor, after transplantation of this heart, she developed taste for consuming beer. Likewise, when the heart of a piano playing girl was transplanted into a foundry worker in Africa, it was found out that after recovery, that person started playing piano. And in third case, which is a much debated, much discussed case on in YouTube also by several scientists also, that a girl was murdered, and before her heart became biologically dead, it was transplanted into another girl. Now this recipient of the heart, she started apprehending somebody would murder her. So her parents took her to a psychiatrist. Psychiatrist said that since the donor of the heart was murdered and therefore you also consult police. And ultimately that recipient of the heart of the girl who was murdered helped police to nab that criminal who has committed or murdered that girl. So these days, a lot of things are being talked of cellular memory, cardiac memory also, which our ancient scriptures used to talk. So whether it is the life sciences or when we come to another phenomena, I would like to mention particularly, for example, if we go through various scriptures, like we often talk of Newton's third law of motion. All rockets are made from that theory, that there is a reaction against every action in equal quantum. So there is a reaction against every action in equal proportion. अर्थात प्रत्येक क्रिया के प्रतिकूल या उसी असमानुपात में प्रतिक्रिया होती है. Now when we go to the Valmiki Ramayana, when Hanumanji was reminded by Jamvant that you are so powerful and he grows well, at that time Valmiki ji writes that Hanumanji began thinking that I'll have to take a leap by which I'll have to reach almost 100 yojan away. And that's why there would be a equal quantum of momentum opposite to my leap. मैं जिस दिशा में छलांग भरूंगा उसके विपरीत दिशा में उसकी प्रतिक्रिया होगी, and the soil would be depressed from there. So he climbs on a mountain, and from there he leaps for Lanka to cross the ocean. And Valmiki ji writes that due to reaction of his forward movement, that mountain become leveled. वह जो है पर्वत विदीर्ण हो गया और वहां की धरती समतल हो गई. It means as early as in Ramayana period, Valmiki ji has mentioned that there is a reaction against every action in equal proportion. Similarly, we find everything in our scriptures, and particularly when I talk to civilizational antiquities, Prafullaji was also talking, what kind of civilizational advancements we had. In the same Valmiki Ramayana, I found that when Hanumanji informs Bharatji that Ram is likely to come, Shri Ram is likely to come within half a ghati, it means 12 to 15 minutes. Bharatji instructs his ministers, and among several instructions, he also says, spray ice-cooled water on the roads. वहाँ शब्द है हिम शीतेन वारिणः, यानी कि हिम means बर्फ, शीतेन यानी बर्फ से ठंडा किया हुआ, वारिणः यानी जल, यानी बर्फ से ठंडे किए हुए जल को मार्गों पर छिड़काव करो. It connotes three things: how advanced was our civilization that even today in India or anywhere in the world, in the 200 countries, no country has the tradition of spraying water after cooling it with ice. We spray water on the roads whenever we have some celebration or something like that, whatever kind of water is available in the ocean, in the ponds or in the wells or in the river. But we had this tradition of spraying ice-cooled water on the roads to welcome some beloved person. That is number one. Second thing, in modern science, in the history of ice, we teach that ice was for the first time manufactured in 1858. Before that, people did not know manufacturing ice. Ice was there in the Antarctic or Arctic or in Himalaya. So people knew of natural ice. Ice manufacturing was not known. This is being taught. But manufactured and captive ice must be there in Ayodhya so that within 10 minutes, people of Ayodhya sprayed ice-cooled water, him, Shita, and Avarina. And therefore, what we have to, even sometimes we dub our scriptures as very recent one. We say Mahabharata period is 700 BC, and Ramayana period is almost Ramayana period is almost 2500 BC or so. But actually, our scriptures say that Ramayana period is of Treta Yuga. While counting the years of Kali Yuga, we often quote Yuga of the 5124. It means 5124 years have lapsed after Kali Yuga. And before that, it was Dwapar of 8,64,000 years. And before that, Treta has expired. So can there be a civilization so old? But in Valmiki Ramayana itself, Valmiki ji mentions 4 tusked mammoths, 4 tusked elephants, 4 दांत वाले हाथियों के वर्णन 2 से अधिक स्थानों पर वाल्मीकि जी ने किया है. Modern archaeology says that 4 tusked mammoths or 4 दांत वाले हाथी have become extinct from the earth about 1 million years ago. Now, if an organism or a creature which existed only 1 million years ago, and we also say that Ramayana is more than 1 million, Treta Yuga was more than 1 million years ago. It means it coincides, and Valmiki ji, if he has described a creature which existed 1 million years ago, it means the Ramayana period was of Treta Yuga only. Now, often, sometimes, we feel that these days we are talking of global governance or something like that. But when we see our ancient scriptures, we find a lot of such connotations. For example, there is a shloka in Mantra Pushpanjali, Om Swasti Samrajyam Vairajyam Bhojyam. There are about 14 types of governments. And then at the end, it says, Prathivya Samudra Paryantaya Ek Rat Iti. It means from earth to ocean, it is one nation and there are various kinds of government. When we refer to the term Bhoj, means its king is called Bhoj. So there had been Bhoj kingdoms in India, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Southeast Asia, etc. We see Bhojpur in India, we see Bhojpur in Nepal, etc. Means wherever there is welfare state, it has a parliament or a committee of visionaries. It is called Bhoj. Kingdom is called Bhoj and the king is called Bhoj. हमने राजा भोज के बहुत सारे वृत्तांत सुने हैं. So for centuries there had been a tradition of Bhoj kingdom and Bhoj kings. Similarly, Om Swasti Samrajyam Bhojyam Vairajyam. Vairajyam means the kingdom is called Virat. The king is called Virat and his kingdom is called Vairajya. We see Viratnagar in Nepal, we see Viratnagar in Lanka, we see Viratnagar in Southeast Asia, we see Viratnagar near Alwar in India. So we had this. So there are, due to paucity of time, I would not be stating all those kinds of governments which are there in that stanza. Om Swasti Samrajyam Bhojyam Vairajyam Samant Paryai Adhirajya. There are many such things. And so it has been said, the wish well-being of the entire nation spread from earth to ocean, and where there are various kinds of governments. Even last example I would like to give, that we had very advanced economy. For example, today we talk of companies, partnerships. I find in ancient scriptures, Sambhuya, Samuthan, Samvitan, they stand for cooperatives, partnerships, etc. And for example, these days, we often talk of cash cow when Boston Consultancy Group has given the formula to do portfolio analysis. किसी एक ग्रुप में अगर 50-60 कंपनियां हैं, how to analyze them. So they in the Boston Consultancy Group metrics, they have divided the companies into 4 categories. First category is cash cow, where you have to make minimum efforts and you derive maximum profits. That is called cash cow. Second category is stars. Third category is question marks. Fourth category is dogs. This is the BCG matrix. When I go through in the Yajurveda also, the Rishi has described Dhenu as a cash cow in the form of corporate entity. The mantra is like Imame Agnishtaka Dhenvaha Santveka Cha Dashancha Dashancha Shatancha Shatancha Sahasrancha Sahasrancha. In this way, it talks of millions, billions, trillions, quintillions. Sattva Mutra Mushmin Loke. It means I have invested my Ishtaka, means Isht Sadhan Karne wali capital. I have invested my capital at various places, and at all places, my capital should grow in the multiples of 10, 100,000, millions, billions, trillions, etc. वहाँ पदम नील शंख तक की गणना है, और उसमें शब्द है धेनव. It means the profit bearing capital, that my इष्ट साधन करने वाली capital should grow in such multiples and my wealth should increase. There Dhenu Shabd is for cow. So
Professor Sharma, I'm very sorry to interrupt you.
Yes, I'll be concluding.
We are very behind schedule now. I would ask you to request you to kindly sum up your lecture.
Sure, I'll just be. So as students of media, I think we have immense treasure of knowledge heritage in our scriptures, and therefore you should, in your writings, spread all these messages. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Bhagwati Prasad Sharma, for this very thought-provoking lecture. I will now invite Professor Mazhar Asif to deliver his lecture on the 4th Pran, Celebrate Our Heritage. Professor Mazhar Asif is the Dean of School of Language, Literature and Cultural Studies at JNU. He has been a member of the Drafting Committee of the National Education Policy 2020. He is also a member of the National Monitoring Committee for Education, Ministry of Human Resource Development. He is a member of the National Council for Promotion of Urdu Language. Welcome, Professor Asif.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Respected Dr. Bajaj ji, मेरे भाई प्रफुल्ल केतकर जी, respected Professor Bhagwati Prasad Sharma जी, मेरी बहन मोनिका जी, respected Professor संगीता जी, मेरे बड़े भाई प्रोफेसर संजय द्विवेदी जी, भाई प्रोफेसर प्रमोद कुमार जी, distinguished guests, esteemed faculties, my dear students and friends. Students joining from different regional centers, very young and energetic crowds, beautiful faces, having beautiful ideas across the country. I offer my Sadar Namaskar and Pyar Bhara Salam to all of you, my dear friends. Let me first congratulate all of you, my dear friends, to be here, to be a very proud student of these are very reputed institutes in India and abroad. My dear friends, I have been asked to talk on unity. love, and affections. Friends, we have been born as Admi. We have been born as Mano. Admi because we have been coming from generation of Adam, as we considered the Abrahamic culture, and Manush because we have come from generation of Manu. When we were born as human being. There is a difference between Admi and Insan. आदमी वो है जिसके अंदर हैवानियत भी है और इंसानियत भी है, और इंसान वो है जिसके अंदर ओनली एंड ओनली इंसानियत है, दोज हु आर ओनली हैविंग ह्यूमनिज्म. So we were born as Admi, without any religion, without any race, without any name, without any language. As it had said in the Gita, when we were born with the quality of God. And what the Holy Quran has said also, there is saying that kullu mauludun yuladu ala al-fitrat. Every child is born as a human being. Our guardians, our father, our mother, our parents make us and divide us into different religions. Before I go to religion, let us discuss that there is a difference between a dharma and religion. There is a difference between deen and mazhab. Why we were born? What was the basic philosophy to our creation? The basic philosophy of our creation is that what the Quran has said, khalaqal mauta wal hayata li'abluwakum ayyukum ahsanu amala. The philosophy of our birth is that we should think right, do right. We should not harm anybody. हमारा चिंतन, हमारा मनन, हमारा आचार, हमारा विचार, हमारी थिंकिंग, हमारी फिलॉसफी, हमारी थॉट से किसी भी इंसान को, किसी भी जानदार को और किसी भी गैर जानदार को किसी तरह की तकलीफ न हो. दैट इज पर्पस ऑफ लाइफ. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामया, सर्वे भद्राणि यश्चन्तु मा कश्चित् दुख भाग्य भवे. ये दिस इज द फिलॉसफी. बहुजन हिताय एंड बहुजन सुखाय. We should not harm any creation of God. That is the first quality of इंसान. हमारे बदन के किसी भी अंग से किसी भी जानदार और गैर जानदार को तकलीफ न पहुंचे. दिस इज द बेसिक फिलॉसफी ऑफ आवर क्रिएशन, व्हाट द गॉड एंड व्हाट द ईश्वर हैज सेड. हमारे जबान से, हमारी आंख से, हमारे पैर से, हमारे हाथ से, हमारी सोच से, हमारी फिक्र से किसी भी इंसान को और गैर इंसान को तकलीफ न पहुंचना चाहिए. दिस इज द फिलॉसफी. इफ यू कंसीडर इट एज अ मोटो ऑफ आवर लाइफ, और ये आएगा कैसे? It comes from our own culture, our own history, our own sanskar, our own sanskriti, our own tahzeeb, and our own tamadun. Dear friends, you are all young and energetic. You know that contemporary to our Indian civilization, there were more than 60 civilizations. What Allama Iqbal has said, यूनानो मिस्रो रूमा सब मिट गए जहां से, अब तक मगर है बाकी नामो निशा हमारा. Yani contemporary to our culture, there was a Nile civilization, Mesopotamia, Persian, Romanian, Chinese. ये कहाँ गए? Where they have gone? सब मिट गए जहां से. All have been wiped out, all or are renamed. Mesopotamia became Iraq, Persian became Iran. यूनानो मिस्रो रूमा सब मिट गए जहां से, अब तक मगर है बाकी नामो निशा हमारा. And the next line which I am going to recite for you, this is the philosophy and this is the चिंतन of our culture. कि कुछ बात है कि हस्ती मिटती नहीं हमारी. There is something in our blood, there is something in our culture, there is something in our society, there's something in our चिंतन, there's something in our फिक्र. हमारा जो जाविया फिक्र है, हमारी जो फिक्र है, हमारी जो चिंताधारा है, हमारा जो तफक्कुर है, कुछ बात है कि हस्ती मिटती नहीं हमारी. सदियों रहा है दुश्मन दौरे ज़मां हमारा. If you go back to the history of our country, you will realize that in our history we have been invaded. In the entire period, we have been captured. But my dear friend, this is the basis of unity. We have never invaded any country in the world. हमने कभी किसी भी कंट्री पर आक्रमण नहीं किया. हम अभी तक सरवाइव कर रहे हैं. 50,000 साला जो हमारी सोच थी, हमारी फिक्र थी, हमारा ज्ञान था, हमारी परंपरा थी, तो हम आज तक बचाकर रखे हुए हैं विदाउट एनी इनफिल्ट्रेशन. उसका रीजन ये है कि आवर थिंकिंग, आवर फिक्र इज बेस्ड ऑन ओम शांति शांति एंड शांति. विश्व कुटुंबकम, ये हमारी सोच है. We have never talked about religion. You go through all the scriptures. We have been talking about dharma. We have been talking about the ज्ञान. हमने कभी भी रिलीजन की बात नहीं की है अपने पूरे हिस्ट्री में. You are the young energetic student. You should know what is dharma and what is religion. You should also know the difference between knowledge, difference between education, and difference between culture. ये जितने भी हमारे यंग एनर्जेटिक स्टूडेंट बैठे हैं, why they have come to here? Their main aim is to get the knowledge, ज्ञान. And how they are going to get the jnana? Education will lead them to get jnana. Education lead us to get the knowledge. And to go to knowledge, to get the knowledge, we have to adopt so many means, and the best means to adopt a knowledge is sanskar. So jnana, shiksha and sanskar. इल्म, तालीम एंड तहजीब, ये तीनों एक दूसरे के साथ जुड़े हुए हैं. इल्म के बगैर तालीम नहीं, तालीम के बगैर तहजीब नहीं, ज्ञान के बगैर शिक्षा नहीं, शिक्षा के बगैर संस्कार नहीं. और माय डियर स्टूडेंट्स, The basic philosophy of our country is that we love each other. प्यार एक तरफा हो सकता है, झगड़ा एक तरफा हो सकता है, फाइटिंग एक तरफा हो सकती है, बट रेस्पेक्ट कैन नॉट बी वन साइडेड. रेस्पेक्टेड कभी वन साइडेड नहीं होता. यू विल सी इन योर लाइफ. रेस्पेक्ट हमेशा दोनों साइड होता है, both the sides. And respect आएगा कैसे? Respect will come from love. The love and respect is basis of our knowledge and our शिक्षा and our संस्कार. प्यार हमें झुकना सिखाता है, प्यार हमें ज्ञान देता है, प्यार हमें संस्कारी बनाता है, प्यार हमें अकड़ कर चलना नहीं सिखाता, प्यार हमें दूसरों की इज्जत सिखाता है, प्यार हमें प्यार की बात करना सिखाता है. अगर आपके लाइफ में प्यार नहीं है, you love, that's why you have taken admission here. अगर प्यार नहीं, अगर संस्कार नहीं, तो फिर ज्ञान कहां से मिलेगा? तो ये जो हमारी जो मोहब्बत है, हमारी इश्क है, हम एक साथ रहते हैं. You will be surprised to know that India is only one country in the world, in universe, where we are having more than 2,000 languages belonging to different family groups. We are having 2,000 ethnic groups. We are having more than 10 religions. And you forget about the religion, we are having the sects of different religion. There are more than 320 sects in Islam, all are in India. All major sects of Christianity we have in India. We have all major sects of Judaism we have in India. You take any race we have in India. What not? इसके बावजूद भी we are living together, we understand each other. The only and only reason is that हमारी फिक्र, हमारा सोच ये है कि हम अच्छे हैं and you are also good. If Mazhar Asif is good, my dear friend Professor Pramod Kumar is also good. हमारी बहन रिंकू जी also good. हम ये नहीं कह सकते कि मजहर आसिफ इज बैड एंड मेरी बहन रिंकू जी गुड. नहीं, वी डोंट बिलीव इन इट. हम एक दूसरे का सम्मान करते हैं, एक दूसरे का सत्कार करते हैं, एक दूसरे की इज्जत करते हैं, एक दूसरे की रिस्पेक्ट करते हैं. इस वजह से करते हैं कि आई एम ऑल्सो गुड एंड यू आर ऑल्सो गुड. ये इस पर हमारी फिलॉसफी है. What the other culture said? Let's talk about the Abrahamic culture. In Abrahamic culture, everything created by God on this earth is to be used by human being. That we call the Bhog Sanskriti. यानी खुदा ने इस रूए जमीन पर जितनी भी चीजें बनाई हैं वो सब के सब इंसान के इस्तेमाल के लिए हैं. What we say? We say no. We say that we are for each other. हम एक दूसरे के पूरक हैं. We are surviving because forests are there. Forests are surviving because the animals are there. Animals are surviving because the air is there. Air is surviving because the birds are there. And birds are surviving because the so many insects are there. We cannot survive without each other. इसको हम कहते हैं दोह की संस्कृति. So dear friends, kindly try to differentiate between a culture संस्कृति and दो संस्कृति. What is the दो संस्कृति? हम गाय रखते हैं, गाय को हम खिलाते हैं, अर्ली इन द मॉर्निंग उसको हम दूहते हैं. दैट इज द दो संस्कृति. हम एक दूसरे के पूरक. गाय को हमने फीड किया और गाय हमको फीड कर रही है. हम इसमें बिलीव करते हैं. दैट्स व्हाई वी हैव बी सर्वाइव्ड. That's why Allama Iqbal says कि कुछ बात है कि हस्ती मिटती नहीं हमारी। ईरान बदल गया, फिर मेसोपोटामिया बदल गया, ग्रीक बदल गया, रोमन बदल गए, नाइल बदल गए, इजिप्ट बदल गए, हम तो नहीं बदले। क्यों नहीं बदले? बिकॉज हमने कभी भी किसी को न बुरा कहा, हमने भी कभी किसी को ये नहीं कहा कि तुम अच्छे हो हम बुरे हैं। हमने ये कहा कि विश्व कुटुंबकम, हमने ये कहा सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः। शायद दुनिया में कोई ऐसा रिलीजन होगा जो इस पर बात बिलीव करता हो। सब रिलीजन बोलता है कि वी आर द बेस्ट, हम तो रिलीजन की बात ही नहीं करते। यदा यदा ही धर्म, हम धर्म की बात करते हैं। अभी मैं एक स्पीकर हूं, ये मेरा धर्म है, आप सुन रहे हैं, दैट इज योर धर्म। एक टीचर है, टीचर हैज अ धर्म। एज ए स्टूडेंट माय डियर फ्रेंड्स, यू हैव अ धर्म। रिलीजन नहीं है। वेयर इज द प्रॉब्लम? अभी तक कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं था, हम एक साथ रह रहे थे, हमारी सोच अलग थी लेकिन हम एक थे। यहां पर दो चीजें समझाकर मैं अपनी बात खत्म करूंगा। ये जो एक फिलॉसफी नहीं आई है कि हम अनेक में एक हैं, नहीं, यू आर थिंकिंग अदरवाइज। हम एक से अनेक हुए हैं। एक ट्री है, उसके रूट्स हैं, लीव्स हैं, ब्रांचेस हैं, उसके छिलके हैं, उसके फ्रूट्स हैं, उसके फल हैं। तो हम एक थे और एक से अनेक हैं। आप किसी भी रिलीजन के हो सकते हैं, हमारा धर्म एक ही है, हमारा संस्कार, हमारी संस्कृति, हमारी सोच एक ही है। अब हो सकता है कि दूसरे रिलीजन से बिलोंग करते हो, बट हमारे जो धर्म जो है ये कहती है कि हम एक से अनेक हैं। नंबर 1। नंबर 2, जहां पर इश्क नहीं, जहां पर प्यार नहीं, वहां पर एक दूसरों का आदर सत्कार नहीं हो सकता। आप देखिएगा, प्यार करने वाले बहुत चुप चुप के बात करते हैं। प्यार हमको प्यार से बात करना सिखाता है। आप किसी भी प्रेमी को, किसी बॉयज एंड गर्ल्स को जब वो प्यार कर रहे होते हैं, बात कर रहे होते हैं, तो इस तरह से बात करते हैं कि आप सुन नहीं सकते उसको। अब वही जब गुस्सा में आएगा, देखिए, एवरीवन कैन लिसन। झगड़ा सब कोई सुनता है, प्यार सब कोई नहीं सुनता। तो प्यार हमें झुकना सिखाता है, प्यार हमें इज्जत सिखाता है, प्यार हमें रिस्पेक्ट सिखाता है, प्यार हमें यह सिखाता है कि एक दूसरा आदमी जो मेरे सामने खड़ा है वो भी इंसान है, वो भी अल्लाह का बंदा है, उसने भी ईश्वर को बनाया है। मेरे भाई, ये जितने भी रिलीजन की बात हो रही है, ऑल रिलीजन का लेसन एक ही है कि वी आर ह्यूमन बीइंग, और हम सब के सब ईश्वर द्वारा, गॉड द्वारा क्रिएट किए गए हैं। और हमारा पर्पस ये है कि हम झूठ ना बोले, अच्छा काम करें। खलकल मौत वल हयात लियब्लुवकुम अय्युकुम अहसनु अमला। अच्छा काम करें, अच्छा सोच रखें, हर आदमी का रिस्पेक्ट करें, दूसरों की इज्जत करें। मैंने जैसे कहा था कि इज्जत, रेस्पेक्ट कभी भी वन साइडेड नहीं होता। ऐसा नहीं है कि मैं अपनी बहन रिंकू जी को मैं गलत बात कहूं और रिंकू जी हमको जो है प्यार करेंगे, ऐसा इज नॉट पॉसिबल, बिकॉज वी आर ह्यूमन बीइंग। सो ऑल ऑफ यू स्टूडेंट, प्लीज try to understand, go to our संस्कार, our संस्कृति, our culture, our तहजीब, our तमद्दुन, जिसकी बेसी प्यार पर है, जिसकी बेसी भक्ति पर है। और ये इतने भी रिलीजन है, ये रिलीजन जो देखिए, आई डोंट नो हाउ टू प्ले तबला, मुझको तबला बजाने नहीं आता। अगर मैं तबला बजाऊं, आप सब लोग हॉल छोड़कर चले जाएंगे और मेरे 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 बड़े भाई संजय भाई साहब बोलेंगे कि मजर आसिफ आप बंद कीजिए, बहुत हो गया। लेकिन उसी तबला को अगर उस्ताद जाकिर हुसैन खान को दे दिया जाए और जाकिर हुसैन खान उसी तबला को लगे बजाने, तो सब लोग जो है सुनने लगेंगे और सब लोग कहेंगे वाह उस्ताद वाह। माय डियर स्टूडेंट, फर्क कहां है? तबला ही वाज द सेम। उसी तबला को मजहर आसी बजा रहा था तो आपको अच्छा नहीं लगा, वही तबला उस्ताद जाकिर हुसैन बजा रहा था तो यू आर एंजॉयिंग। तबला जो है ये रिलीजन है और तबला बजाने वाले फॉलोअर ऑफ द रिलीजन। प्रॉब्लम जो है हमारे फॉलोइंग में है। प्रॉब्लम जो है हम अपने जो भी हमारी जो संस्कार है, संस्कृति है, जो भी हमारी पुस्तकें हैं, स्क्रिप्चर है, उसको हम ठीक से ना पढ़ पा रहे हैं और ना उसको हम ठीक से समझ पा रहे हैं। ये प्रॉब्लम्स है। इसलिए मैं बार बार बात कर रहा हूं ज्ञान की, हम बात कर रहे हैं शिक्षा की, हम बात कर रहे हैं संस्कार। संस्कार अगर नहीं है तो फिर क्या होगा? कुछ नहीं होगा। तो माय डियर फ्रेंड्स, आप जो है अपनी कल्चर को समझिए और प्यार करें, प्रेम करें एक दूसरे से, अपने कंट्री से, अपने इंस्टीट्यूशन से, अपने टीचर से, अपनी किताब से, अपने आसपास के वातावरण से, सबसे आप प्रेम करें। होश वालों को खबर क्या बेखुदी क्या चीज है। अरे जो लोग संस्कारी नहीं है उनको क्या खबर के इश्क क्या चीज है। इश्क कीजिए, फिर समझिए जिंदगी क्या चीज है। आप एक बार प्रेम करके तो देखिए, अपने से प्रेम कीजिए, अपने अपने आसपास के लोगों से प्रेम कीजिए, अपनी पुस्तक से कीजिए, अपने इंस्टीट्यूशन से कीजिए, अपने शिक्षक से कीजिए, ताकि इस तरह से हमारी मोहब्बत बढ़ेगी, प्रेम बढ़ेगा, भाईचारा बढ़ेगी। रिलीजियस आदमी वो है जो दूसरों को अहित नहीं करता, दूसरों को अत्याचार नहीं करता, दूसरों को नहीं सताता। माय डियर स्टूडेंट्स, I once again welcome all of you to this very reputed institution। और मैं 2 लाइन मैं अपने स्टूडेंट्स के लिए, those who are joining from Amravati and other places, प्लीज 2 लाइन को आप राइट डाउन समवेयर और उसको अपना मोटो बनाओ। एज व्हाट द विवेकानंद सेड कि you fix a goal and you try to reach the goal। the motto is that हर शीशा टूट जाता है पत्थर की चोट से। every glass is broken when it is hit by the stone। ये तो कॉमन चीज है, is a normal। but as a student of IIMC आपको क्या करना है, वो दूसरा लाइन है। हर शीशा टूट जाता है पत्थर की चोट से, ऐसा शीशा तलाश कर जो पत्थर को तोड़ दे। You have to find out such kind of glass that even a stone can be broken। With these few words, once again I offer my sincere thanks to मेरे बड़े भाई संजय द्विवेदी जी, भाई प्रमोद कुमार जी and other esteemed faculties to inviting me। Thank you very much। ओम शांति 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 ही। नमस्कार।
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया प्रोफेसर मजहब आसिफ जी इस उद्बोधन के लिए। अब मैं आग्रह करूंगी प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर गोविंद सिंह जी से, जो IIMC के डीन एकेडमिक्स हैं, कि वो 5वें प्रण फोकस ऑन ड्यूटी, नागरिकों के कर्तव्य पर बात करें। मैं हमारे सभी छात्रों को बताना चाहती हूँ कि मोनिका अरोड़ा जी, जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट की एक अधिवक्ता हैं, वो आ नहीं पाई हैं क्योंकि उन्हें अचानक एक केस में जाना पड़ा है। गोविंद जी, मैं आपसे साथ ही ये आग्रह भी करूंगी कि सेशन थोड़ा डिलेड चल रहा है, आप सार गर्भित एक छोटा उद्बोधन दें, वो ज्यादा अच्छा रहेगा। धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद प्रोफेसर संगीता जी। मैं एक बार फिर से इस कार्यक्रम में आप सभी लोगों का अभिनंदन करता हूं, नए छात्रों का। 5वां जो प्रण है वो कर्तव्य का है। मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि हमारे लोकतंत्र की सबसे बड़ी खामी यहीं पर है कि हम लोग अपने इस प्रण को अक्सर भुला देते हैं। दुर्भाग्य हमारे थोड़ा सा संविधान में भी रही कि उसमें ये बात थी नहीं। मौलिक अधिकार यानी फंडामेंटल राइट्स की बात तो की गई थी, और हम सब लोग चूंकि गुलाम थे और गुलामी के बाद एकदम से अधिकार मिल रहे थे तो अधिकारों की तरफ झपट रहे थे एक तरह से। लेकिन जो कर्तव्य थे, जो ड्यूटीज थी, उनकी तरफ किसी का ध्यान नहीं गया। और उसके बाद हमारे लोकतंत्र में पूरी जो खामियां हैं वो उसी से पैदा होने लगी। अभी मजहर साहब बहुत ही गहरी बात कर रहे थे और एक तरह से जो सामाजिक संस्कृति की बात है वो कर रहे थे। उसमें से भी बहुत सारी बातें जो है ना फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज की आती हैं। जो हमारी संस्कृति रही है, निश्चित रूप से उसमें फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज जो है वो अंतर्निहित रही हैं। कर्तव्य बोध जो है हमारी संस्कृति में, हमारे संस्कारों में, हमारे जीवन में वो रहा है। लेकिन वास्तव में 1947 के बाद हमने कर्तव्यों को भुला दिया। हमें लगा कि जो कुछ है वो सब सरकार है और हमको जो चाहिए वो अधिकार चाहिए, हमारा कोई कर्तव्य नहीं है, ये हम लोगों ने समझ लिया। लेकिन चलिए, देर आई दुरुस्त आई। 1976 में जब इमरजेंसी लगी हुई थी, तब कर्तव्यों के बारे में भी, हालांकि उस समय दूसरे कारण से कर्तव्यों की याद आई, लेकिन आई। और बहुत अच्छा ये हुआ कि 10 कर्तव्य उस समय जो है संविधान में मौलिक कर्तव्य, फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज उस समय जुड़ी। और उसके अलावा एक और कर्तव्य जो है 2002 में संशोधन के बाद उसमें जुड़ा। तो इस तरह से आज की तारीख में हमारे पास 11 कर्तव्य हैं। और ये 11 ही कर्तव्य जो है कोई बहुत बड़ी बात नहीं है, ये हमारे रोज बरोज की जो जिंदगी है उसी से जुड़े हुए हैं। इसमें जो खास करके जो मैं थोड़ा सा गिना देता हूँ आपको, ताकि संक्षेप में बात खत्म हो जाए और आपको इस बातें मालूम भी पड़ जाएं। हालांकि आप लोगों ने हम जब पढ़ रहे थे सिविक्स वगैरह, तब हमको नहीं मालूम थी कि ये भी है, लेकिन नई पीढ़ी के बच्चों को फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज भी संविधान के साथ पढ़ाई जा रही हैं। तो उसमें जो सबसे पहला कर्तव्य है वो है कि संविधान का पालन करना। संविधान निश्चित रूप से हमारे लिए आज की गीता है और इसका पालन करना हम सब के लिए कर्तव्य है। उसकी अवहेलना, उसका अपमान करना ठीक नहीं है। और उसके अलावा जो है, जो उससे जुड़ी हुई जो चीजें हैं, हमारे राष्ट्रीय जो प्रतीक हैं, जैसे राष्ट्र ध्वज है, राष्ट्रगान है, इस तरह की तमाम चीजों का सम्मान करना, ये हमारा पहला कर्तव्य जो है वो सिखाता है। दूसरा कर्तव्य है कि जो हमारी आजादी की लड़ाई लड़ी गई, उसमें जबरदस्त आदर्श थे, उच्च जीवन के उच्च आदर्श थे, उत्सर्ग की भावना थी, अपने आप को बलिदान करने का भाव था, जो कि हमने एक तरह से जो कि हम भूल रहे थे 1950 के बाद, और उनको न भूलें हम लोग, इसका हमेशा ध्यान रखें, उच्च आदर्शों का पालन करें। इसके अलावा जो है संप्रभुता, देश की जो सॉवरेंटी है उसका ध्यान रखना है, एकता और अखंडता इसका ध्यान रखना है। अखंडता को किसी तरह की कोई क्षति न पहुंचे, कोई नुकसान न हो, इसका ध्यान हमेशा रखना है। राष्ट्र की जो सेवा है उसके लिए हमेशा तत्पर रहना, हमेशा तैयार रहना, और जब भी कोई ऐसा आह्वान होता है उसके लिए तैयार रहें। ये असल में हमारे अंदर से बातें आनी चाहिए, थोपी भी नहीं होनी चाहिए। जैसे मिसाल के लिए आप देखते होंगे आजकल कि रूस में ये कहा गया, आह्वान किया गया कि साहब आप लड़ाई में भाग लेने के लिए फौज में भर्ती होइए, और बड़ी संख्या में लोग भागने लगे। हालांकि हमने ये जो कर्तव्य वाला जो क्लॉज है वो रूसी संविधान से ही लिया है, लेकिन वहां जो है रूस में भी इस तरह का भाव आ रहा है कि लोग अपने कर्तव्य से भाग रहे हैं, अपने देश सेवा के लिए तत्पर जो है वो नहीं हो रहे हैं और दूसरे देशों में भाग रहे हैं। तो ये इस तरह की खबरें आप लोगों ने पढ़ी होंगी। ये जो है, ये जो भाव है अपने राष्ट्र के लिए अपने आप को उत्सर्ग करने का जो भाव है, जो आजादी के आंदोलन में हमारे था, उसका जो है वो हमेशा याद रखना है उसको। सामाजिक संस्कृति जिसकी बात कर रहे थे मजहर साहब, कि एक दूसरे की संस्कृति का सम्मान करना, और हमारी संस्कृतियों में से ही सारी चीजें मिल करके एक राष्ट्रीय संस्कृति जो है वो बने और किसी का अपमान न हो। हमारे यहाँ जो है वो जैन धर्म में स्यादवाद एक दर्शन है। स्यादवाद का मतलब ये है कि कन्फ्लिक्ट को रोकना। आप जो कह रहे हैं हो सकता है कि आप भी सही हो, वो जो कह रहे हैं वो भी सही हो सकता है कि वो भी सही हो। तो अनेकांतवाद उसमें है, अनेकांतवाद, अनेक अंत हो सकते हैं, एक सत्य के अनेक अंत हो सकते हैं। हमारे यहाँ इसी को एकम सद विप्रा बहुधा वदंती कहा गया है। एक सत्य है, विप्र लोग उसको अलग अलग तरीके से बोलते हैं। तो इसलिए सामाजिक संस्कृति का ध्यान रखना है, किसी को हमारी बातों से नुकसान न हो, कोई बुरा न लगे, इस बात का भी ध्यान रखना है। पर्यावरण का हमेशा पर्यावरण संरक्षण का ध्यान रखना है, पर्यावरण को किसी तरह की क्षति ना हो उसका ध्यान रखना है हमेशा। वैज्ञानिक दृष्टिकोण से मानववाद जो है, ह्यूमनिज्म जो है वो बढ़ाना है, वैज्ञानिक दृष्टिकोण का पालन करना है, साइंटिफिक टेम्पर अपने जीवन में लाना है। इसी तरह से सार्वजनिक संपत्ति का जो पब्लिक का प्रॉपर्टी है उसको नुकसान नहीं पहुंचाना है। मुझे याद है जब हम विद्यार्थी थे आपकी तरह से, तो छात्र आंदोलन होता था तो हाथों में पत्थर लेकर के यूनिवर्सिटी की बिल्डिंग को और वीसी आवास को शीशे फोड़ने की कोशिश किया करते थे। और उसी में से कुछ बच्चे जो है वो आगे अपने कर्तव्य को समझते हुए आगे आते थे और वो रोकते थे। तो ये जो सार्वजनिक संपत्ति है वो हम सब की अपनी है, इसका भाव अपने अंदर पैदा करना है। इसी तरह से सबका उत्थान हो, सबका विकास हो, जो मजहर साहब कह रहे थे कि सर्वजन हिताय और सर्वजन सुखाय, उसका ध्यान रखना है। एक सबका जो है विकास हो, केवल मैं आगे न बढ़ें, हम आगे बढ़ें। मैं या हम का जो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट है इसको समझना है और हमको जो है वो तरजीह देनी है। तो ये जो है इसी तरह से शिक्षा के अवसर सबको देना है, 6 से 14 साल के बच्चों को। तो ये जो है हमारे फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज थी। यहाँ मैं गीता का एक श्लोक बोल करके अपनी बात को खत्म करूंगा, जो कहता है कि कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन। कर्म की आशा छोड़ करके, कामना छोड़ करके कर्म कीजिए। कर्म ही कर्तव्य है, ये समझिए, क्योंकि कर्म के साथ धर्म भी जुड़ा होता है। धर्म का मतलब कर्मकांड नहीं है, धर्म का मतलब है अपना कर्तव्य। तो इस चीज का विशेष रूप से ध्यान रखना है, यही हमारा कर्तव्य बोध होना चाहिए। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद संगीता जी। मुझे लगता है कि मैं अपनी बात को संक्षेप में रख पाया।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद गोविंद जी, बहुत ही संक्षिप्त में आपने बात कही। आज का हमारा जो ये सत्र था, इसका जो विषय था वो ये था अमृत काल, मीडिया और पंच प्रण। Actually, the Panch Pran are the path to actualize the dream of India to be a developed nation by 2047. It would mandate attaining the parameters of development in the modern context, but as a nation that takes pride in its history and culture, a nation that respects its people, and its people are united to actively participate in every aspect of societal and public life, which would reflect in terms of the Human Development Index. As a nation, we need to develop as people who revel in having not just rights, but also put duties first, so much like the sign on US President Harry S. Truman's desk, which read, "The buck stops here." The journey would be long, it would be arduous, it would encompass immediate and long-term imperatives that would lead towards a developed nation. The most promising travelers on this path would be the youth, which would be you people. Our good wishes that each one of you attain the goals that not just lead yourself to the height and pinnacle of success, but also lead to India being a developed nation. I would now request Professor Dr. Virendra Bharti, Regional Director, IIMC Amravati, to deliver a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Professor Sangeeta ji. A very important and useful discussion took place on the topic Amrit Kaal, Panch Pran or media. I'm sure that today's address has enhanced the knowledge of all of us. As we witnessed, this session was focused on the 5 resolutions laid down by our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji in his Independence Day speech, calling it the Panch Pran, the 5 resolutions to help India become a developed nation in the next 25 years. He said every Indian should focus on developing the country, 100% freedom from the slavery, taking pride in Indian heritage, ensuring importance is given to unity and integrity, and every citizen should be responsible. मैं भारतीय जनसंचार संस्थान की ओर से धन्यवाद करना चाहूँगा आज के इस महत्वपूर्ण सत्र के सभी माननीय स्पीकर्स, डॉक्टर जे.के. बजाज जी, प्रोफेसर प्रफुल्ल केतकर जी, प्रोफेसर भगवती प्रसाद शर्मा जी, प्रोफेसर मजहर हासिफ जी, प्रोफेसर गोविंद सिंह जी, जिन्होंने अपने ओजस्वी संबोधन द्वारा विषय को बहुत ही स्पष्ट शब्दों में हम सबके सामने रखा और कई महत्वपूर्ण रोचक तथ्यों को हमें बताया। माननीय वक्ताओं का पुनः हार्दिक धन्यवाद। मैं आदरणीय प्रोफेसर संजय द्विवेदी जी, महानिदेशक आईएमसी के प्रति अपना आभार व्यक्त करना चाहता हूं। आईएमसी में आयोजित सभी शैक्षणिक एवं अन्य गतिविधियों के लिए वे हमारे प्रेरणा स्रोत हैं। इस सेशन को सुंदर तरीके से संचालित करने के लिए प्रोग्राम मॉडरेटर प्रोफेसर संगीता प्रणवेंद्र जी का भी बहुत बहुत आभार और धन्यवाद। इस महत्वपूर्ण ऑनलाइन प्रोग्राम को साकार करने के प्रमुख सूत्रधार प्रोफेसर प्रमोद कुमार जी का भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद व्यक्त करता हूं, और साथ ही आईएमसी के सभी प्रोफेसर्स और कुलीग का भी बहुत बहुत हार्दिक आभार और धन्यवाद। और अंत में इस सत्र के सफल आयोजन के लिए हमारे सभी साथियों सोमनाथ जी, कविता जी और फरजान, प्रवीण जी और संजीव विश्वाल जी का भी बहुत बहुत हार्दिक आभार और धन्यवाद। नमस्कार।
नेक्स्ट सेशन 3 बजे शुरू होगा। अभी सब लंच कर सकते हैं। 3 बजे फिर से अपने अपने क्लासरूम में सभी स्टूडेंट्स पहुंचे। थैंक यू।